How you doing, Blades? My name's Hal. Hope you are well. Not on my own for today. Let me bring Ollie straight in. What's up, Ollie?
Yes, very nice to see you, Hal. Happy New Year. Not sure what it's like for you over there. How do they celebrate in Cyprus?
We celebrate it with the usual, fireworks and all that sort of thing. And also I've been drinking this very special mug that my dad got for me, which I think is really cool, really nice. Got all the legends on there and Paddy Kenny. And also, my wife made me a really nice meal as well. So we celebrated the new year with steak, Cypriot potatoes. You ever tried them?
No, but they sound great because it's got the word potato in it.
They're absolutely fantastic. As I am hoping QPR against Sheffield United will be. Ollie, it certainly was last season, mate, wasn't it? Wow.
Oh, so good. Obviously, last away game of the season, me and you together, Hal, and it was an absolute cracker of a game. We had a fantastic evening.
It was carnage. We'll get into that. We'll also, in today's preview, get you team news for QPR and the Blades. It's a Monday, 8 p.m. kickoff at Loftus Road. There'll be player connections, and we will give you our score predictions at the end. Let me give a big shout out to all our members. Click join if you're watching on YouTube and you'd like to support the channel and keep the lights on here at Sheffield United Way Towers. Also, shout outs to NordVPN if you ever want to change your location, should that be useful, or if you're overseas and you want to watch the content you usually enjoy back home. NordVPN could be the answer. Also to Parrot Peel for sponsoring the channel, the musical ensemble, many of which are Blades. And I'd also like to little moment aside to mention a new supporter of the channel, and I'm really excited about this. Final Runner. Now this is a really exciting game. It is the UK's 100% official last person standing game. Only a £5 to enter as well, Ollie.
Yeah, it looks a cracking deal. To be honest, I'm excited about this. I absolutely love a last person standing. Unfortunately, I am terrible at them. So what will happen is I will put my £5 into the pot and then promptly be eliminated. But I love to be involved. I just think it's a cracking idea. A great way to play.
Yeah, get your mates involved, particularly if one of those mates is Ollie, because you've got more chance of winning. So the way it works, pick a team. You can't pick the same team twice. The final runner wins the cash prize. And of course, the more entries, the higher that prize pot. Also, make sure you follow them on Twitter at FinalRunner.com. That's FinalRunner.com. That's the handle on Twitter. The competition is only £5 to enter, and the prize pot, as I say, increases with each new entry. Now, here's the important bit. The competition begins at 5 p.m. on the 2nd of January, and all entries need to be in before then. So what are you waiting for? Yes, I've done my best to explain it, but this video should explain it even better.
Final Runner is a new and exciting game that's so easy to play, and this is how it works. Find a competition to enter and make your selections. Your team just has to win in order for you to proceed. Use your skill, as it's all based on real sporting fixtures. You're knocked out if your team loses or draws, so keep making those winning selections to stay in the competition. It's only one fee to enter a competition, and the more people that enter, the higher prize pot. Each comp is made up of rounds, which will usually consist of a group of fixtures over the weekend. There is one rule: you can't pick the same team twice, and the winner is the last person standing. The Final Runner. Gets playing on Final Runner and beats the game.
All right, that's how it shakes out. FinalRunner.com. Players must be 18 or over, based in the UK. Be gamble aware. FinalRunner.com. Ollie, you are going to share with us something very important.
Yes, my friend is fundraising. He's trying to raise money for Ashgate Hospice. It's a very local hospice to us. It's based out of Chesterfield, I believe. And there's just a fantastic cause, really, to try and raise money for. If you hop over to my Twitter at @𝗣𝗿𝗶𝗍, you'll be able to see a link that I've got pinned at the top of my sort of feed. And what you'll see there is a fundraising account that my friend Danny has got set up. You can sponsor him for running a half marathon, but also he's auctioning off a signed Sheffield United shirt. Now, this is a shirt from this season. So far, this has got the potential to be a very special season. So having a signed shirt from all the squad that have contributed to it would be awesome. So just jump over to my Twitter and you will be able to find the link. Thank you very much, Blades.
I've got to say, Ashgate Hospice is one I know very well. And I also raised some money for them after what they did for my cousin last year. Yeah. So fantastic cause and well said. Ollie, now we already mentioned at the start of this video, the last time we played QPR away, you and me enjoyed this one at Loftus Road. It was a cracking game. I'd like you to just talk a little bit about the last time out, and then I'll go back over the Blackpool game.
Of course. So, oh my word, how do we remember this game? How, as we've said, you know, we went to this together and it was brilliant. It was the last away game of the season. We were really pushing to try and get into the playoffs. And to be honest, at half time, I probably wasn't going to be talking about it this positively. It felt as though it had been a bit of a stinker. We were 1-0 down. It had just been a bit of a nothing game that we were losing to a Charlie Austin goal. He'd come charging in. He dominated Basham at the back post, which was unfortunate. And we found ourselves behind. But the second half, my word, our performance in the second half. We were causing absolute chaos from corners. We'd had one kicked off the line from 𝗍𝗿𝗄𝐿. Their keeper had made a fantastic save from Jack Robinson. And then finally, a corner to the deep, headed back in, and Ndiaye knocks it home. And once we got that goal, we were rampant. We scored again not long after, a really clever free kick, worked to the back post, Basham knocked it across, and Jack Robinson came from nowhere. And I mean, absolutely nowhere to power in a fantastic header. We went absolutely mental at this point. We really felt as though this was a special performance and it was going to be the one that forced us into the playoffs. QPR were trying to come back at us, but couldn't really lay a glove on us. And in the final minute, we made sure of the points. A really quick counter, a really great goal by Conor Hourihane. And yeah, it made it worth having to get a megabus home at 12:30 and not get to my house until 5 o'clock, because it was an absolute cracker, wasn't it, Hal?
Yeah, credit to you. You could have just watched it on telly.
I could have done, but that wouldn't have been the same. I would not have enjoyed it half as much on telly.
You're right. Memories to last a lifetime. And also some fantastic memories for a great atmosphere that I was able to enjoy from here in Cyprus. Blackpool against the Blades, our most recent match. United just keep on winning. We said in the preview of that United are still kind of in third gear and yet still getting those results. Yes, I'd love it if the Blades just started steamrolling teams like we were at the start of the season. You know, your Readings, your Blackburns. But we're not getting that. We're just getting, in a way, we're kind of, I wouldn't say coasting, because we are clearly superior to these teams. But it's almost like if they don't have to get out of third gear, why would they? There's a long season still to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get exactly what you're saying. Now, particularly second half, I think that's been key in all of our most recent games. You know, we're starting well, we're getting ourselves ahead. But then once we've got that lead, whether it's a comfortable lead or maybe a less comfortable lead in some occasions, we are then sitting back, you know, we're trying to conserve energy. We know we've got a lot of games coming, and maybe it's a conscious decision to say, you know what, we back ourselves. We know we can grind this out. We know defensively that we are strong, and therefore we're going to sit in and just make it hard for you to score against us. Personally, I would like to see us just steamroll someone. It feels as though, you know, there's been a lot of these grinding out results. So let's just put 90 minutes together and really go after someone. But whenever we're winning, I probably shouldn't complain, because God knows I'll complain when we're not winning.
Yeah, it's looking, I mean, dare I say it, like for a team to catch us, because of the goal difference as well, it's going to be, Sheffield United are going to have to beat Sheffield United. That's really, you know, if we get through the January transfer window without selling anyone, if we don't implode like we've seen us do in the past, you know, selling Dean and the Garner on the same day, that sort of nonsense, or James Beattie, you know, just moments when we're about to do it. And we famously haven't seen the long-term picture. As long as we don't do that and Sheffield United don't beat Sheffield United, I firmly believe we will go up. And this will be a special season with a wonderful squad. My goodness me. And when everyone's back and we've got Max Lowe and we don't have to rely on, unfortunately, an Ender that isn't really Ender anymore, I'll just be so much more confident. I still think we could do with a striker because Rhian Brewster's out injured, and I don't want to be relying on Billy. It sounds awful because I love Billy Sharp, but I don't want to be relying on him week in, week out. We want to have further options there. And Ollie McBurney, another setback. Will he be back for this one? Well, let's lead into that with some team news. We know Rhian Brewster's out, just mentioned it. Reece Norrington-Davis with his hamstring. John Fleck unlikely with his leg. 𝗍𝗏𝗂𝐿𝐼 Coulibaly with his knee injury. Jack O'Connell, do we need to keep mentioning? All ruled out, we know about. However, United could be boosted by the return of Ollie McBurney. It's still a bit of a question mark, but I think he's going to make it. And Ben Osborne could be back as well. Plus, of course, John Egan will return from suspension. So that's something to think about in the back line. And here's what Nick reckons. He's gone with Wes in goal. 𝗵𝗏𝗄𝐻𝐷𝐼, where he's most comfortable in that right centre-back position. John Egan straight back in the middle. Ollie, for what it's worth, what do you think about the reshuffled back three against Blackpool?
I quite liked it. I thought first off in particular, they were excellent. I really liked to see Clark up against Madine. He felt as though he was reading the game really well. He was stepping forward and cutting out what was Blackpool's only real outlet, which was to go long and try and get there quickly. He handled that really well. Second off, it felt as though we lost it a little bit. And it felt as though we allowed Madine to get on top of us, which is maybe something that wouldn't happen if we'd had Egan in there. But no, there's no complaints from me. You know, if Egan does have to miss out again, God forbid he doesn't, because obviously he's such a key player. But if he does, we've shown that we can cope without it. And I did quite like seeing Clark in the middle.
Yeah, I did as well. I'm really glad you said that because that's where I was leaning with that particular question. Maybe it's a rest because we've got that luxury of Bogle being back. So maybe Baldock plays there. Max Lowe, who I've already mentioned. Then Norwood, McAtee. Many people remember at the start of the season, I did predict he would start slow and then become one of the best loan signings. Not to say I told you so, but it's looking that way. So I told you so. Sander, never doubt him. Iliman Ndiaye, and probably Billy Sharp if McBurney doesn't quite make it over the line. Wouldn't be disheartened to see the 11 that Nick has suggested there. Talk us through QPR, please, Ollie.
Yeah, they're an interesting one, QPR. It's hard to predict quite what they're going to be doing with their side because they've been struggling. Obviously, a new manager come in, and he originally was playing 4-3-3. He swapped in their last game to a 4-2-3-1, I think mainly due to injuries, but they got absolutely battered. So it seems unlikely he's going to stick to the 4-2-3-1. I think they'll go back to the 4-3-3. They've got a few players missing, as I referenced there. So Andre Dezelle, he's the really key man in their midfield three, but he's been out injured, which I think precipitated the change of formation. Jake Clark-Salter, centre-back, also going to be out. It seems unlikely they're going to make it. They've both been struggling with illness that they've had in the QPR camp. Then Stefan Johansson and Leon Balogun are both more long-term injuries, so they're definitely not going to be in the side. Like I say, after getting battered last time out, I think they're going to go back to the 4-3-3, and the team's going to look something like they'll have Seny Dieng in goal, a back four of Ethan Laird, Jimmy Dunn, Rob Dickie and Kenneth Paul. Now, that is the same back four that played against Luton. So it's possible they'll want to make changes. But with Clark-Salter out and Balogun out, there's not really anything they can do to that centre of defence. Osman Kakai could come in. He could maybe play right back instead of Ethan Laird. But it seems unlikely. Obviously, Laird very highly rated. So I then think their midfield three will be Tim, I believe it's 𝗍𝗏𝗂𝗋. He's on loan from Aston Villa and he's a fantastic player. I think they'll have Sam Field with him and then possibly Taylor Richards coming into that midfield three instead of Andre Dezelle, just to give him that little bit of extra balance. I think their front three will then be Willock, Chair and Dykes. Shodipo didn't really impress against Luton, and therefore it seems as though they'll go back to their old faithful. Now, that's a very good front three. That does worry me a little bit.
Yeah, the natives, though, are a bit restless, and the opposition view created by Roy's View, go to roysview.com, has got some of the comments that really do ring true for that. Here's just some of them that our friend Roy has garnered. We'll probably beat Sheff United on Monday. Okay. Here's back to a bit of terror. I know, back to terra firma with this one. I won't be watching us lose to Sheffield United. Even if it was a game we might win, I would not watch the second half if we're kicking towards the loft, as we won't score. I keep saying everyone should go home or go to the pub at half time, as we keep playing the second half at home as though there is a force field in the loft end. This is the worst Rangers team I have seen in terms of scoring in front of home fans. Wow. The thought of watching Sheffield United ripping us to pieces, which they did last home game of last season, and getting an even later train back from Euston is too much to take.
Wow. So they're not happy then, it doesn't seem. I don't think they're best pleased with how things are going at the moment. Obviously, I think it is 2 defeats in a row at home, possibly both 3-0. So you can understand why they would get a little bit restless. But I'm certainly not counting them out. I think they're a good side. And that front three are very, very good. If they're not scoring goals, then God knows what's going wrong. Because with them playing, surely goals is the one thing they can guarantee.
Well, Happy New Year to everyone except referee Matthew Donoghue, who loves, of course, giving a penalty against us and sending a player off. The referee for this one is Josh Smith from Bedfordshire. We've had him a few times before, and he's had 17 matches in all competitions this season. He's given 83 yellows. That is incredibly high.
Okay.
3 red cards, and he's given 2 penalties. He was in charge of our first match of the season. Ollie, not a memorable game.
Not a memorable game at all. The one thing I do remember, though, is that their goal was about 1.5 miles offside. So, you know, it's always great that you get these referees coming back. Admittedly, not his fault. It's the linesman I should be pointing at. But nobody remembers linesmen's names. So the referee has to get it in the neck. It's just how football works.
Yeah, you're right. It was a 1-0 defeat at Watford, for those that don't know what we're talking about. He was also the man in the middle for our 2-2 draw at home against Norwich. You might remember he gave a penalty, didn't he?
Gave a penalty to them. Yeah, he'll get the blame for that as well.
Adam Davies making the save. Last season, he was ref for our 1-1 home draw with Forest. So
gave them a
penalty.
Go back.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, you go back through these and, you know, it seems like we've got another Matt Donoghue here, but he was also the referee for our 4-0 win against a team that's looking pretty accomplished, actually, back in life in the top flight, Fulham. So let's jump away from a referee into something a little bit, I think, certainly I hate doing it, but you're quite good at it. In fact, you're not as good as Nick. Talk us through.
Yeah, actually, the times they are changing.
Oh, have the times changed?
The times have changed. So obviously, we do a weekly score predictions for the Championship, where we are predicting every game this season to see how we do. And for the first time in probably 3 months, I am now ahead of Nick.
By 1. I teed you up there, didn't I?
On my way. What was
all
that?
Right. I teed you up, didn't I? I teed you up superbly for that. So there you go. You get your moment. I'm saying I'll go first. We're going to do the same score again as last season, a 3-1 win at Loftus Road. For those that haven't watched the prediction video, please do check it out. It's on this channel. Ollie, what are you saying?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to do the same as last season. I'm predicting a 1-1 draw. I think United will take the lead. I think we will then do what we do and retreat back into our sort of second half performances. And I think we will get caught at some point. And I think this could be the game.
Nick's saying a 2-1. So there's turncoat Ollie and passionate bigger blades Hal and Nick, who are going with a win for our boys. Let us know in the comments what you think the score prediction will be. One of my favourite parts of the preview is player connections. Ollie, who can you think of that's played or perhaps managed both?
Managed, indeed. Obviously, this is another one of those Neil Warnock teams. We seem to play 5 a season, and this is one of them. The other name that jumped out to me, I think, was on loan at QPR from Tottenham after leaving us, Kyle Walker, who I think spent some time there and did pretty well. I think he was pretty well remembered, but he is everywhere because he's a fantastic player. And
fantastic athlete.
At any point that he'll come, he'll retire with us and he'll be great.
Pretty old. He'll be pretty old. I don't want him. I don't like it when players make their own decision on their future. Hey, if we want him, we'll get him on our terms. Let's have a look who I can think of. Obviously, Leon Clark. We could go with Luke Freezy Freeman. Danny Marshall, quite rightly saying Paddy Kenny, who's apparently made it onto a Legends mug. Not quite sure how. What about Tony Curry, whose birthday it is today, 73 years young for TC. I had the pleasure of meeting Tony when I was about 14, and he invited me to a soccer camp. Really, really nice. Sean Derry, who signed a program for me. When we were sponsored by Daysun, and we had the sort of 3 apples logo, and he just drew 3 apples on my program. Didn't actually write his name. Didn't realize till I'd got it back. So those are just some that we've thought of. Let us know in the comments who you think are some good player connections who played for both Queen's Park Rangers and Sheffield United. Ollie, just before we go again, one more time. Now you've got your Twitter handle on there. If people are just joining us, Can you give us the information again about Ashgate Hospice, please?
I can indeed. So if you go to my Twitter, as you can see in my name there, we've got my Twitter handle added at @𝗍𝗿𝗍𝗍. My friend is fundraising to raise money for Ashgate Hospice, which is a fantastic charity just based out in Chesterfield. He's going to run a half marathon for them. So you've got the opportunity to sponsor him. But he is also auctioning off a signed Sheffield United shirt from this season. And if you want the link to that auction, you can find it, as I say, pinned at the top of my feed on Twitter at @𝗍𝗿𝗍𝗍.
And as we mentioned, check out Last Person Standing. Only a £5 to enter. Finalrunner.com. Could be a lot of fun. You never know. You could be the winner. Until we chat to you next time, enjoy the game. Ollie, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me, Hal. It's a shame we're not going together again, but hopefully we'll get a similar result.
Hope so.